How to lose weight after 35 when intermittent fasting backfired on you, especially if you are noticing some perimenopausal symptoms kind of creeping up. Okay, this one's for you. So if fasting worked for you and then it didn't, and maybe you're heavier now or you feel like you can't get the weight off when the old methods used to work, they don't work anymore, it's not your fault. Okay? You've been told by Dave and Mindy that fasting is the way to get to fat loss. What I'm telling you, for perimenopause, it sucks. It sucks. And any variation of fasting, by the way, like eating one meal a day, oh mad. Skipping meals, skipping a whole day, right? It could be any variation, eating 11 to 7, whatever you want to call it, right? Any version of skipping meals and skipping eating is kind of an intermittent fasting, and it can be done unintentionally or intentionally. But I will tell you, intermittent fasting, I have seen break more metabolisms in perimenopause than it actually fixes. And there's a lot of reasons for that. We're going to dive into it today. So I'm going to break down how to actually stop that pattern and get you into fat burning, muscle building mode. Let's go. So in this video, I'm going to break down what I would do instead and what's actually worked for my clients. So instead of fasting, let's try macros. Okay. Macros is eating the right balance of macronutrients, protein, carbs, fats for your body, for your needs specifically. And we do it in proper ratios. I'll get into the ratios and what that means in a second. But here's why this is fasting thing is not working, okay? Fasting is going to spike your cortisol. And it is going to be because there is an absence of food. And food, you need balanced blood sugar. Your blood sugar will figure out how to be balanced one way or another. So when we don't have food, blood sugar drops, the liver or muscles could release certain sugars that balance your blood sugar, but also that's going to release more insulin and create more fat storage, creating more stress on the body because fasting is going to be a stress on the body. Now, cortisol is your stress hormone. Cortisol or stress, it hits harder in perimenopause. And if you are a woman in perimenopause, I don't have to tell you that. You already know. You already know. But you know why? Well, progesterone is what keeps cortisol in check. It's like a balancing act, right? So if we have lowered progesterone, those lower levels are going to keep cortisol kind of like unchecked. And so you're going to be like, oh my God, I feel crazy. I can't sleep. What's going on with me? Why am I erratic? Why am I not feeling like myself? That's why. And so does it really make sense to do something intentionally that makes cortisol hit harder for you? Or would it make more sense maybe to do something that keeps cortisol in check a little bit more and keeps you feeling normal, chill? Progesterone is your chill pill. Cortisol is your stress pill, your adrenaline, your rush, right? Your fight flight. Progesterone is like, oh, let's relax. Right? That's what they call the baby making hormone, right? You got to relax. You got to be in a safe place. Women in perimenopause, you will not lose weight by forcing it. Your body will use body fat as a protective mechanism to make you feel safe if it doesn't feel safe, right? It will make itself be like, we're going to survive. Whatever apocalypse is happening, we're going to survive. And if you don't do that, like if you don't keep it in check, it will keep the weight on. Is what I found, okay? So eating less often or skipping meals or intermittent fasting will probably lower your calories, but it's also not going to change your body composition that much. So body composition is muscle to fat ratio. Most people want more muscle, less fat, right? So how we do that is having a better balance of macronutrients, which is protein, carbohydrates, and fat. And to start out, I just tell most people, try to get them balanced across the board. If you can do that, then we can start playing with numbers, right? We can say, okay, we can do protein at 32%. We can do carbs at 35%, like whatever, however we need to do it for that person. But I recommend trying to get a balance. Most people are eating protein at like 10 to 20% of their overall calorie intake. That is not enough. Carbs, they're way overdoing it. Fat, they're way overdoing it. Okay, so this is the problem. This is the problem with cortisol, with fasting that hits cortisol. And the better solution is macros. So let's dive into a little bit more about kind of how macros can support you in your fat loss journey, okay? So tip number 2 is I want you to eat to protect your muscle first and make weight loss or fat loss kind of like this secondary mindset for you, right? I've talked about this before, but fasting, it will actually block fat loss, like long-term sustainability, because it slows the metabolism down. When we don't have the fuel on board to build the muscle we need, that means less muscle, that means slower metabolism. Your muscle is this metabolically active tissue that you really, really want. So a higher metabolism, meaning burning more calories at rest, that is what is going to get you that revving metabolism. You're burning the furnace, you're feeling like a fat burning machine, versus tired, stressed, can't sleep all the time, which is kind of what fasting ends up doing inevitably in women in this kind of this part of life, this midlife where hormones are declining, where that progesterone can't keep cortisol in check, okay? Now, you do need to give your body the signal that muscle is important here. Let's keep that. And to do that, we want to do two things. We want to have macro-balanced meals. I've talked about that. And the right good stress on the body. So the way this happens, again, tracking macros gives you that fuel, that raw materials that your body needs so that it can say, oh, okay, we have what we need. We're safe. Right? There's that word again. And then weight training with progressive overload is the good stress we put on the body so that it says, oh, we need to use these muscles, right? We need to use these muscles. Let's use these muscles. And now we have the raw materials. And then this shift happens from get rid of the fat to, oh, we need to put more resources toward building this muscle. The fat kind of just, your body just kind of lets it go. Fat will take care of itself. Right? And when you trust that process, that's the magic, okay? When you focus on building muscle, that takes care of itself. So that's tip 2. Now tip 3, if you've been intermittent fasting a long time, we want to really reintroduce food strategically. So here's a couple of tips I have for you. I want you to track your food. I want you to put it into an app. We do that especially initially just to kind of figure out what we're eating. What does that balance of macronutrients look like? If this is difficult for you, like you're eating out more often, or food is kind of given to you by your work, or you're eating, you're eating something that you're not preparing at home as much. Track your protein at minimum. Guess. Like if you've weighed it enough, if you can weigh your food at home and you can say, you know what, this is probably 4 ounces, this is probably 6 ounces. Most standard serving sizes at a restaurant is 4 ounces. You've heard of the quarter pounder, okay? That's gonna be 4 ounces of meat, all right? If we did 2 of those, it's 8 ounces of meat. So you can start to use what you know about a menu and put that into your log, right? Just put something in there. A guess is better than nothing at all. It will hold you accountable. It will be a wake-up call for you. We don't have to do this forever, but for now, we need to do this, okay? Then I want you to aim to hit 1 gram of protein per body weight. Once you start adding up your protein sources, then your goal is to be like, oh, I'm 150 pounds. I'm only eating 95 grams of protein. It's not enough. It's not enough. As we get older, our protein needs actually increase. So I would tell somebody who's 70 to eat like maybe 1.1 to 1.2 grams of protein per body weight, okay? So as you age, your protein needs go up. Now, a tip for you all, if you're trying to be like, okay, Shay, this is just exhausting. I don't know. How am I going to do all of this? Well, we're just tracking protein. Remember that. We're not worried about, the vegetables, the rice, the sauce, all of that. That can come later. But let me give you a tip at home. Simple 2 to 3 ingredient meals versus these complex recipes. Literally, I could eat lean ground beef and some sweet potato. That's it. I could just do that. It's so much easier to log that, and those 2 things together taste really good. The savory from the beef, the sweet from the potato. Those 2 things together can taste really good, right? Salt and pepper, of course. Now, if you want to add another one in there, add, something that might flavor that up a little bit if you want to. Like, I really like adding my skyr yogurt as an example. So if that's something that you can do at home where you make things simpler, so, yogurt, kiwi, chia seeds, 3 ingredients, very easy to weigh out, very easy to measure, right? That's what I'm talking about when you're at home, to make things really, really simple for you and reintroducing this food strategically so that you can hit your protein goals, okay? So if you found these tips helpful, and you are ready to drop 10 inches in 30 days, I actually put together a little PDF guide that outlines my entire process step by step. I use this with my one-on-one clients. I help them drop 10 inches in a month with their custom macro plan. So if you want a copy of this, I'll send it to you completely free. Just drop the word checklist below and you will get my macros guide. All right, that's it. Thanks.